This time last year, the world was discussing a letter written by Donald Trump to Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The US president called the Turkish president a fool. Now the Turkish president is calling the French president mental. I'm not making this up. Listen to it from the horse's mouth.
Macron'un zihinsel noktada bir tedaviye ihtiyacı var. İnanç hürriyetinden, inanç özgürlüğünden anlamayan ve kendi ülkesinde yaşayan milyonlarca farklı inanç mensubu insanlara bu şekilde davranan bir devlet başkanına başka ne denilebilir? Öncelikle bir akli noktadan kontrol.
That was the Turkish president calling the French president names. Erdogan said Macron needs mental treatment. While nothing justifies such language, what was the trigger for this outburst? Macron's crackdown on radical Islam. The French president has pledged to defend the secular values of his country, and the Turkish president can't seem to take it. Why is it any of his business? Because Erdogan thinks he is the leader of all Muslims in the world. We'll come to that in a bit, but first let's tell you what is happening in France. President Macron has refused to ban cartoons of Prophet Muhammad. He wants to reform Islam in his country. He wants to root out extremists. His decisions have triggered an Islamic backlash. The Arab world is boycotting French products. The Muslim world is calling Macron the devil. It's the #1 trend, by the way, on social media in India. Macron the devil. And leaders like Turkey's Erdogan and Pakistan's Imran Khan are hurling abuses at the French president. They're calling him an Islamophobe. Our cover story tonight is about a leader who is fighting extremism and being trolled for it. On this show, we've always lauded Macron's approach. Instead of playing safe, pandering to a vote bank and being politically correct, he's chosen the tougher path. He's called Islam a religion in crisis and he's set out to fix it. This month, France suffered one of its most horrific terror attacks, the beheading of a teacher in broad daylight. But well before this attack, France had begun scrutinizing Islam. The president had announced a law to regulate Islam, make the religion more compatible with French secularism. He wanted to rein in the radicals. After the beheading, he intensified the crackdown, and now he's facing a backlash. Leading the charge against Macron is the president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, hurling insults at his French counterpart. Listen in.
Fransa'nın başındaki zat şaşırmış. Yatıyor, kalkıyor, Erdoğan'la uğraşıyor. Ya önce sen kendine bir bak. Nereye gidiyorsun bir ona bak. Dün Kayseri'de de söyledim. Bu bir vaka. Onun için bir hakikaten kontrolden geçmesi lazım.
That was the Turkish president implying that the French president is mentally unfit for office. He did it not once but twice. How did France respond? It hasn't taken the insult lying down. France has recalled its ambassador in Ankara. But the backlash has been extreme and widespread. Since Friday, people across the world have taken to social media to criticize President Macron. He's been slammed by groups and individuals in the United Kingdom, Kuwait, Qatar, Palestine, Egypt, Algeria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and of course, Turkey. 3 hashtags are targeting the French government and President Macron. Boycott French products, Islam, and never the Prophet in Arabic. And it's not just online. There are protests on the streets too. In Libya, protesters burned the French flag and portraits of the French president. In Jordan, people are boycotting French goods. Supermarkets have taken French products off the shelves. Some shops have put up signs that say, and I'm quoting, "In solidarity with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, all French products are boycotted." The list of countries and regions that witnessed protests is rather long. In a span of just a few days, we have received pictures from Gaza, Bangladesh, Qatar, Libya, Israel, and more. Leaders like Erdogan are riding this wave, whipping up the anti-France rhetoric.
İkinci Dünya Savaşı öncesinde Avrupa'daki Musevilere karşı yürütülen linç kampanyasının bir benzerine bugün Müslümanlar maruz kalıyor.
In Pakistan, Prime Minister Imran Khan faces massive countrywide protests against his own government. But he took to social media to say what? To accuse Macron of polarization, to accuse the French president of marginalization of Muslims. How is Macron taking all of this? He says he's undeterred by the criticism. Let me quote his statement. "We will not give in ever. We respect all differences in a spirit of peace. We do not accept hate speech and defend reasonable debate. We will always be on the side of human dignity and universal values." France is at an inflection point. The beheading of school teacher Samuel Paty has brought home the threat of radical Islam in this country. 3 weeks back, Macron made an admission. He said the French government was at fault. It had allowed Islamism to spread. And now the government must do something about it. France, by the way, has the largest Muslim population in Western Europe. They make up 9% of the country's population. That's almost 6 million people. Macron took office in 2017, right after 2 major terror attacks in his country. I'm talking about the 2015 Paris attack and the 2016 truck ramming in Nice. France has also contributed the largest contingent of foreign fighters in Syria. These are French radicals who fight for the Islamic State. According to one estimate, some 2,000 fighters joined ISIS from France. These numbers are worrying. This year, the French Interior Minister said France faces a quote-unquote extremely high risk of terror attacks. In the month of August, more than 8,000 people were on a national warning list. This was a list of Islamic radicals, 8,000 people. The need for crackdown and reform is urgent. Macron is doing the right thing. He says he's designing an Islam for France. The new law will keep madrasas in check. It will impose stringent limits on homeschooling, keep children out of madrasas. Public funding will also be monitored. Groups that collect money will be asked to sign a charter on secularism. And foreign imams will not be welcome in France. It used to be a widespread practice. These proposals are radical and long overdue. What Macron does in France may well set the template for Europe and the rest of the world. The global protest by a certain section is only proof that he's hitting them where it hurts the most.
France across the Islamic world have emerged as a challenge for French President Emmanuel Macron, both at home and abroad. Now, in France, Macron faces a big challenge of curbing radical Islam while not giving way to the rise of Islamophobia in the country. Islam is the second largest religion in France, and the country also has the highest Muslim population among European countries. Nearly 6 million Muslims live in France. Earlier this month, Macron unveiled anti-radicalism plans, saying that Islam was in crisis globally. The French president's declaration of war on Islamic separatism has sparked fears of discrimination against Muslims. Some also fear that the move may lead to the rise of right-wing groups. Internationally, Macron has been facing backlash from the leaders of the Islamic world who accuse him of being Islamophobic. The row has dented France's relations with Arab countries and also affected Macron's image globally. Calls to boycott French products have been on the rise, with supermarkets in countries like Jordan and Qatar removing French products from their shelves. And the intensifying boycott is now likely to affect the French economy.